as Nina Turner says, people need to start screaming like their hair's on fire when their hair is on fire. So I started pointing out that Bernie Sanders was a bullshitting liar coward, and he fucking voted for the largest upward transfer of wealth while bullshitting us that he got us something in the unemployment. He didn't. People still think that today. Bernie Sanders gave a grandstanding speech. That $600 fucking unemployment was already in there, written by Michael Bennett. That was all bullshit. Bernie went along. He could have put a hold on that bill. He could have alerted everybody what was coming. Instead, he went along with it. It's called the shock doctrine. It's disaster capitalism. Everybody knows exactly what they were going to do, and they fucking did it, including Jimmy fucking Dore. And I called them out, and that's what people can't stand. And still the asswipes, half of fucking YouTube and progressives are fucking idiots who have no idea still what was in that CARES Act. They have no idea how fucking bad it was. They have no idea that their heroes, including Bernie Sanders, just stabbed them in the back without getting a fucking thing. And that was the only time they had leverage, because Mitch McConnell and the oligarchs wanted their $5 trillion. So if they would have slowed it down, they could have got something. They did nothing. They did nothing. They voted for the Patriot Act. They gave fucking Trump spying powers. Then they voted for the largest upward transfer of wealth in history, while people were patting them on the back for it. And now they won't even fucking withhold their vote for Nancy Pelosi to get Medicare for all vote. They won't fucking do it. And everybody sees it now. And now they want to make it about Jimmy Dore. Well, you can do that. By the way, it only helps me. It only helps when I'm trending. That only helps me. So thank you. But it helps Medicare for all. And everybody sees now what's going on, that their government is actually working against them. Other governments in the world isn't doing this. Only the United States. That's how corrupt they are. And it's about time for some social unrest.
We actually have Jimmy on, and I don't want to put him on the spot. I think, Jimmy, I don't know if you're ready, but do you wanna say something? How are you doing?
I'm just wondering how is my tan holding up? Because I work a lot on my tan. It means a lot to me. Ever since I was a kid, I looked up to tan people, and this is the first year I really made a commitment to becoming a tan person. And it's really it's working out. I'm finding my wife is more attracted to me. She stays awake more often now when we have sex. True story. So anyway, what was the question?
Well, Jimmy, let me ask you, where are you at right now with all of this? Just what is your take on the reaction that you've gotten to this campaign, which has really taken off? And let me start by asking about the positive reaction. What are you hearing from people, especially people who don't have health care, about your campaign and what it means to them?
Overwhelming support from people who don't have health care, even from people who do have health care. That's the big joke about America. I had health care when I got sick. It didn't matter. And you're in the worst part. Anyway, so everybody knows you're in the worst place to negotiate or worry, or, you can't, you're dying and now you got to go shop around. And it's not only that, but when I got sick, I had, they couldn't diagnose me. If you get sick in a really normal way, it's not too horrible usually, but I got sick in kind of a unique way, and they couldn't figure out for years what it was. And every time they would diagnose me, I would get a little sicker, and I would get a little worse and a little worse. And then they were all telling me, oh, you should go see this guy, Dr. Charles Sharp. He's the best guy. And he didn't take my insurance, so I couldn't go. And so finally my spine collapsed, and like 6 vertebrae just went like that, And so I was like, maybe we should go see Dr. Sharp. And so we did, and he fixed me first for one visit. He figured out, he looked at me right now, he goes, Jimmy, no matter where you go, no one will know what this is. And I said, well, how do you know? He goes, I saw it once before in 1968.
Wow.
He said, you have hypophosphatemic osteomalacia. So anyway, I started getting better. But the reason I tell you that story is because AOC is trying to say that my push for Medicare for all is not legitimate because I am not an approved Medicare for all activist. I don't know if you saw her tweet that. She didn't name me, but she said the people who are pushing for a Medicare for all vote right now are not, what did she say? They're not
that's right. Yeah, she said they're not grassroots activists. Well, what's your response to that?
What do you call what's happening right now? If this is this not grassroots? I'm just a fucking jagoff comedian in my garage. I made a video. I had an idea. I made a video about it, and I booked myself on as many independent news shows as I could to get the word out there. And I pushed it on social media. This is a grassroots campaign in the middle of a fucking pandemic to get healthcare to people. That's exactly what this is. AOC is not grassroots. She's the one who goes to fucking bullshit Intercept, and so they could run interference for her. Jesus Christ. We're the movement. She is not the movement. And people, again, so just how people were behind for a couple of months on the CARES Act when I was upset about Bernie Sanders, people are going to be a couple of months behind at being upset at AOC because they haven't done a fucking thing they've said they were going to do when they ran. She ran literally on a Medicare for all, saying we don't have to wait 100 years. We can have this now. It only takes courage. And we have to agitate. She goes, we have to cause a ruckus and we have to make them uncomfortable. Well, that's what I'm doing. I'm making AOC and the squad uncomfortable, and everyone's coming at me that somehow that's misogynist because I'm yelling in my garage at politicians to pass Medicare for all. And I need to tell people, webcam doesn't have feelings. I'm yelling into a webcam in my garage. I'm not at AOC's office in her face or at her house. I'm in my garage. Webcams do not have feelings. And this is all about tone policing in the middle of a fucking pandemic where the government is failing on purpose. They not only will they not give you a stimulus, they won't give you healthcare in the middle of a deadly pandemic. And I'm supposed to be nicer about it. I'm just doing exactly what AOC said to do. Agitate, cause a ruckus, make people uncomfortable. And that's what I'm doing.
And it's interesting. When she first responded to questions about this, I believe her first response actually came to the football player, Justin Jackson on Twitter. And one of the things she said was we can use our leverage for other things. And one of the first things she mentioned was a $15 minimum wage, which of course everybody supports. The problem is, and you pointed this out pretty quickly, is that Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi are already on record supporting a $15 minimum wage. So it's not like you need much leverage to get Biden and Pelosi to support a policy that they're already on record supporting, whereas they're not on record supporting Medicare for all. And that's why you need to use your leverage to push them on that. It's interesting. She stopped giving that as an excuse. So that just disappeared. So in this Intercept interview, she didn't mention it. And I haven't seen her mention it since. But what she has also said, and I'm curious your response to this, is that because this will definitely die, a Medicare for all vote would definitely die in the Senate. She's saying that House members could disingenuously vote for it. And that would undermine the overall broader fight for Medicare for all in the future, because that would then reduce the pressure on them somehow down the line. So basically, somehow getting more support for Medicare for all could undermine the broader struggle.
I'm going to start calling her Cocktail because she twists herself into a cocktail pretzel coming up with these bullshit excuses. That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Fighting for something will set you back. Fuck off. I want to vote on Medicare for all right now on the floor, and I want to see the Senate. If the Senate votes against Medicare for all in the middle of a pandemic when 15 million people just lost their health care, on top of the 30 million who already didn't have, and the 80 million who are underinsured, when they do that in the middle of a pandemic, as 19 million people are getting kicked out of their fucking houses, that will be the George Floyd moment for some social unrest that is much needed in this country. We need to storm Washington, D.C. We need to scare the fuck out of people. If you read, it was Nixon was afraid. What was it? Chris Hedges told the story on my show about when they were coming for Nixon, they were protesting, and they had set up around the White House these school buses. And he says, "What are those for?" And he was with Kissinger. He goes, "That's in case they break through the fences. Those will slow them down." And he said, he said to Kissinger, "Henry, I'm afraid if they get through there, they'll come for us and kill us." That's where they should be. That's how afraid they should be of us. That's why. And guess what? Nixon gave us the EPA. He gave us OSHA. Right? He gave us the Clean Water Act, Clean Air. What the most we can't get that shit from Joe Biden 50 years later. So the point is, we gotta exactly what AOC said. We gotta cause a ruckus. We've got to make people scared. I've had other independent news people say, "Well, Jimmy, I think you could get people to your way of thinking by persuasion, not by." I go, "I'm not trying to make friends. I'm talking to public servants, fucking politicians. You be nice to them? You think nicing your way? How fucking Canadian can you be?
Well, I'm Canadian, so maybe
Yeah,
that's why.
you're way too nice.
Well, I know you think that, but I don't think you've ever said that everybody has to adopt your approach. You just want everyone to adopt your policy.
That's right.
So what do you think about the fact that there's been so much time has been spent talking about you personally and your tone? Like, what do you think that's about?
That's because they don't want to talk about the issue. That's what that's about. And some people who have been on the left for years are upset that a pothead comedian in his garage came back and created a moment that they couldn't create for fucking 25 years. And so they want to shit on it because they want credit, because they have egos. They have fevered egos that gets bruised. That's a lot. There's a lot of that happening. You've seen it. I'm not making this up. It's fucking right out there on Twitter. It's right out there in the, people are making videos about it. People are tweeting about it. People are writing articles about this moment without mentioning me. That's how fucking tiny of a people they are. So that's kind of amazing. And there's people trying to dismiss it every which way, saying, oh, it's easy to do a YouTube brand and do this. Really? Then why the fuck didn't you do it a long time ago? Okay, it's just people I call a spade a spade. I'm not looking for a job in journalism. I'm not looking for a job in Hollywood. They can't fire me. They can't control me. And I can create a fucking social movement by myself. And that drives them fucking crazy.
I think that's what they resent, that you can't be controlled. And I also think they resent, I don't think it's just about this issue or about the fact that you're, angry at AOC, who a lot of them identify with. And
can I just break in, Aaron? This all started with me going after Mark Pocan.
I remember,
He's the co-chair of the Progressive Caucus. So I put this message out there, and Mark Pocan was on the Tom Hartman show. And so they take calls, and a caller brought this issue up. And then Mark Pocan tried to dismiss it disingenuously, gaslighting and lying about it. And he tried to make every bullshit excuse in the world. So I then made a video and put it at Mark Pocan. And the reason why this all shifted from him to AOC is because AOC responded publicly. She's the only one willing to respond publicly. And this is obviously coordinated. They're doing it so they can exactly do this thing. They can make Jimmy Dore look like he's being a meanie to a girl. She's a fucking elected representative. She's one of the most powerful people in the fucking world, you asswipes. Ro Khanna's got the guts to come on my show. And he says, Jimmy, I'm part of the 0.001%. I'm one of the most powerful people in the world. If I can't face a question from a comedian, I shouldn't be in this job. And he comes on my show all the fucking time. And that's exactly right. I'm fucking pressuring as hard as I am, raking over the coals politicians when they don't follow through on what they said they were going to do in the middle of a fucking pandemic. I will rake them over the coals.
And I think, part of this is there's certain, I think, people in the media who really look up to AOC, and I get why. I think there is a lot that's impressive and a lot to admire, although I don't agree with her positions on many things. But it's not just, I think, wanting that kind of access and that friendship. It's also, I think there's a feeling. This is just my view, that if they legitimize this, then they're legitimizing other aspects where Jimmy Dore has been very strong on. So you push back on Russiagate, you push back on imperialism. A lot of these people don't, and they even go along with it.
Well, I used to work at the Young Turks, where they slandered Julian Assange. They repeated CIA talking points repeatedly, constantly. You know that. I brought you when I had my show there. I would bring you on and to debunk their bullshit in their fucking studio in real time, which is why now I get bad faith attacks from Anna Kasparian, who smeared Julian Assange, took money from NATO to give a tongue bath to war criminals, and she's got no fucking excuse for that.
And this raises a good point. So Anna Kasparian did this video for a NATO conference where she gave a very friendly interview to Madeleine Albright, also to Francis Fukuyama, where she talked about how the good NATO is doing in the world, right?
Yeah,
we've made fun of
imperialism,
right? So, but here's the thing: if someone who has supported imperialism, well, let's watch this video, like we have it here. There's Anna, but here's my question, and people can go to. But here's my question to you, Jimmy. If someone who, say, has had, supported imperialism, or did a friendly interview to Madeleine Albright, or whatever, or supported Russiagate for 4 years, if they had come up with this proposal for a floor vote for Medicare for all, do you think that you would be campaigning against it, or would you be supportive?
Of course, I would be supportive of it. Of course, I wouldn't be like, "Hey, this is good," but Anna was a meanie to me once, and but what literally they're doing is protecting politicians from from independent media's criticisms. They're running interference for politicians, and they're trying to use identity politics to do it. They're trying to play the woman card, the race card, the whole everything. It's gross. And people see right through it. I had Cornel West on my show last night, and I don't know if you saw that, but he told me to keep going. Don't stop doing what you're doing. If you got to shout, shout. If you got to crack some of your jokes, crack your jokes. Do whatever you got to do, my brother. Keep going because you're free. That's what he told me.
Right, and he also invoked other free people like Richard Pryor and George Carlin, who were fearless in their comedy, and that's why they were so effective and so good. And I just think it's
they're fucking doxing my house now. That's how pissed off people are. They did a hit job right away. They did a Variety magazine published a house saying like, "Oh, look at Jimmy. Jimmy lives in a house." And now people are trying to say that's some kind of a luxurious house. If you look at I don't even want to get into it. It's ridiculous. And so they're coming at me. It's a corporate hit job, but they don't want Medicare for all to happen. I wouldn't be surprised if it came out of CAA. I wouldn't be surprised. That's why the people in independent media who have agents who went along with the smears of people who were telling the truth about war. And then, by the way, they pushed for bombing of Syria. I mean, that's Anna Kasparian's game. She pushes pro-war, pro-imperialism. She did CIA talking points on Venezuela, on Syria, on the gas attacks. And then she fucking smeared me about the gas attacks, which, as you know, we were right about. We were getting it right as she was repeating CIA talking points uncritically. That's what they do over there.
And just to repeat myself, because I don't want to make this about one person. What I think is there's a broader.
Let's make it about Nomi, who's also doing the same thing.
Well, right. So Nomi.
How about Josh Fox? Josh Fox, the same thing. Yeah. Josh Fox is tweeting out that I'm some kind of a misogynist because he said I'm committing lateral violence on the movement because there's a video of me yelling into a camera about AOC. I'm committing lateral violence. Josh Fox is banned from WBAI because he's a sex harasser. He's banned from the studios at WBAI where his show got kicked off the air and they banned him because he's a fucking sex harasser creep. That's who Josh Fox is, who takes money from the Rockefellers and to fucking greenwash all the bullshit of the corporations. That he's a grifter, and he comes out and so I just want to. So that's who these people are. And by the way, Josh Fox called you a Russian infiltrator. He said he was on a show and he goes, I don't want to say name names because I don't have any evidence, but I'll start with Katie Halper, Matt Taibbi, Aaron Mate, and he just started naming everybody. He goes, I don't have any evidence, but they're all Russian infiltrators. These people are pathetic, and they're being revealed by a fucking pothead comedian, and it is awesome.
Well, I want to be fair to Josh and not adopt the standard that he adopted against us in suggesting that we were Russian pawns or infiltrators, and say that, someone accused him of something, but that doesn't mean he's actually guilty of it. I just want to be fair to him and say that. But yes, he was accused of bad behavior, and it's funny that he. No,
it's a fact he's banned from That's a fact.
Okay. So and so
that's not speculation that he's banned from his show got taken off the air and he's banned. That's a fact.
Okay, fair enough. I don't doubt it. Ben, there was some people were saying in the comments that your volume was low. Do you want to try it again now?
I'm now being called a Fed. People are saying I'm a Fed now.
From people who whitewash the Democratic Party and always find an excuse to justify whatever Democratic Party leadership want. They now think that you're the Fed. It's incredible.
That was pretty sad. And by the way, Ben, I think because you're not wearing earphones, it's echoing. If you have them.
Okay, good.
So that was crazy. I saw that. Ben Dixon said that. Is that his name? Ben Dixon?
I don't know.
He called you a Fed, and I guess that makes us accessories because we go on your show, you come on our show.
I'm a Russian.
You're a Russian, a Fed.
And I take money from Assad. I don't know if you saw that too. So I'm anti-war, and I'm for Medicare for all. So if you don't know, everybody, I'm going to let you in on a big secret. I'm in the pocket of big peace and socialized medicine.
Well,
you know that's where the money is.
You know what's funny about the Assad thing? So this is an allegation from that basically a bunch of us, me included, I've won this award too. There's this group called it's like a nonprofit. It's based in California called the Association for Investment in Popular Action Committees, APAC. So it's a funny play on words. And they basically give like these small awards to like fringe anti-imperialist journalists. Like I've won it. I think Ben, I think you won it too. Jimmy, you got it.
Yeah.
And then I think Max has gotten it. Anya from the Grayzone has got it. So basically, everyone who's on like the fringe, you know, whatever you want to call it, anti-imperialist left has gotten it. And there became this thing that all of a sudden.
But by the way, I just want to point out that used to be called the left, but now it's called the fringe.
Yeah.
Because the mainstream U.S. left has normalized support for war and sanctions and humanitarian intervention.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be fringe.
Yeah, no, but this is part of the dynamic that's trying to smear Jimmy. It's the same thing where they're trying to make this a fringe position and trying to make someone who advocates these positions unacceptable, that they don't have the right to try to present a proposal to AOC and put something on the table because they happen to apply their principles of decency across borders that don't stop at the U.S., that actually go around the world. But anyway, so this theory that we've gotten money from the Assad government, it originates. Well, so it's this nonprofit in California who've been smeared as these agents of Assad. What's the irony here of that is that this theory originates in a blog post on a website called Bellingcat, and Bellingcat is literally a state-funded outlet. So a state-funded outlet is falsely accusing us, or falsely fueling smears against us, of receiving state money, when Bellingcat itself is like, it's funded by, and we're going to talk more about Bellingcat later, and I could talk about it all day, but it's funded by groups including the National Endowment for Democracy, which is basically a CIA cutout. It was founded essentially to continue regime change activities abroad through influence campaigns that the CIA itself doesn't want to do directly. It's also funded by the British government and other NATO governments, and its purpose is to smear. Well, one of its purposes is to smear critics of imperialism when it comes from NATO. So the irony of people trying to cite an article from that to accuse us of being state-backed when they themselves are citing state-backed propaganda, it's just sad, and I've been sorry to see people on the left, people I know, falling for it.
Yeah, it's more than sad. It's I can't believe that that fucking Russiagate happened while I was at TIT and happened right in front of my faces as I was telling them that it's wrong, and I was giving them the evidence, and they had zero evidence, and they still kept doing it. Everybody kept doing it. That's why there's no price to pay. There's no fucking price to pay ever for that. The whole media acted like worse than Alex Jones, and there's no price to pay. The American journalism is the moral superior of no one. They are garbage. When a place like The Intercept's editors are doing red baiting on the regular with absolutely no evidence, and no one gives a fuck, and everybody doesn't quit. What the fuck? Anyway, and then what happened with Glenn Greenwald? I mean, it's nuts. I don't know what what does it take to buy their integrity? A steak dinner? I mean, really, journalists are so easily fucking bought off.
Well, and here's where we diverge. I don't blame anybody for not quitting. I don't. People out there in a living. Not everyone can be Jimmy Dore or the Grayzone. It's just a sad fact. But what I do take issue with is when people try to attack the people who got it right and throw them under the bus. And I think it's to me, it's been sad to see this week, especially when we're fighting for what? For Medicare for all, like the most important issue we could possibly fight for in the U.S. And to see it becomes a divisive issue amongst everyone who supports it. Like everyone supports Medicare for all, and somehow
supposedly,
yeah.
But the problem here is that The fact is, Aaron, there was absolutely no even strategy. Like all of a sudden, like on her third tweet, that AOC was like, oh, we are negotiating for things. Well, why wouldn't you say that first? Why wouldn't you say, of course, we're negotiating for things? At first, she said, well, we can't do this because of this other thing and this other thing and this other thing. And then finally, she's like, oh, well, we are negotiating things behind, we're going to get committee seats. And then she got kicked off her own committee. So now
that was crazy. And somebody blamed you.
Go ahead.
No, sorry, Jim. I was going to say somebody blamed you for that. I don't know if you saw that, but there's some blue check was like, congratulations, Jimmy Dore. You just cost Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez a seat on the energy committee. That was like somehow you were responsible for her not getting that seat.
Hey, you'd think if I was that powerful, they'd be nicer to me. If I really had the power to get people on the Energy and Commerce Committee or whatever the fuck, the E&C Committee, do you think that they would be nicer to me? Just like the same thing how somehow it was my fault that Hillary Clinton lost. Well, you think they would have reached out to me? Maybe she should have came on my show. I'm very powerful. I'm the kingmaker. Everyone knows that me and Jill Stein are the kingmakers.
Well, what's so funny about it's incredible how they portray third-party forces and anyone who dares to criticize the Democratic Party from the left as simultaneously fringe, worthless. You don't acknowledge their existence. They have no influence or power, but simultaneously all-powerful, enough to swing entire elections, enough to change the entire political direction of a country. So congrats, Jimmy. I mean, you're simultaneously a fringe, irrelevant comedian with a YouTube show and also at the same moment, one of the most powerful people in U.S. politics. I don't know how you do it. It's amazing.
The way I do it is a lot of weed, occasionally a Xanax, and some Negronis. That's what gets it done. That's how you get fucking work done. I don't know what you guys are doing, but maybe if you did more of that, you'd be making more of a dent like I am.
Well, here's a hot take. Think about how much better U.S. politics would be if all of the warmongering, just bloodthirsty politicians in Washington, instead of doing so much coke, they smoked more weed. They'd be much more chill. They wouldn't want to kill as many Palestinians and Syrians and Libyans. No, I mean, there's institutional forces, but like in all seriousness, I mean, it's absolutely absurd that people have turned you into some scapegoat and refuse to acknowledge the fact that their faves, their liberal faves who pretend to be great revolutionaries, but are beheld to the neoliberal Democratic Party leadership, who are holding hands with Nancy Pelosi, they're beyond criticism. But you, I mean, everything's your fault.
We're in the middle of the biggest economic and health crisis in people's lifetimes. And the government is in fact the enemy of the people right now. They're inflicting pain. They're closing down their businesses and they're not giving them paychecks. This is the only place this is happening in the world. That's not happening anywhere else in the world. Everyone's getting a paycheck. You go to Germany, France, the UK, Japan, Canada, everyone's getting a paycheck. You know who's not? The United States people when they close their business down. Guess who else has health care? The rest of the fucking world, including Russia. You know who does it? The United States. We don't have health care. We don't have a paycheck. We don't have a UBI. We don't have fucking dick in the United States, and people are upset at me because I'm too caustic to politicians in this moment. And it started when they passed the CARES Act. So people don't know that AOC voted for the largest upward transfer of wealth in history and then lied about it.
Well, she claims she voted against it. She claims she voted against it in a voice vote.
Yeah, she lied. She's lying. She didn't vote against it. She voted for it. What, did I misspeak?
Well, like, how do you know that she voted for it when it was a voice vote? Is she recorded as on record as being in support?
Well, okay. They record the voice votes and they say all ayes aye, all noes no, and there was no female voice saying no. Also, Thomas Massey called for a recorded vote, and she didn't second it. So if you're going to vote against something and you want people to know you voted against it, don't you call for a recorded vote? And if you don't call for a recorded vote, then you've now forfeited your ability to say how you voted afterwards, because all fucking how you say you voted after the fucking vote that you don't ask for the record, that's just propaganda, because we'll never know. But we do know because we have the voice vote recorded, and her voice was not recorded say, unless she sounds like Lou Rawls. And by the way, the next day, the next day, AOC did a live stream with a soccer player, and she said, well, we're doing some, we passed CARES Act last night. And there's some good stuff in that. She said that. She said, we passed it. And then the Jimmy Dore show got a hold of how bad that CARES Act is, because Matt Stoller and Dylan Ratigan came on my show and told me how bad that was and exactly what Bernie Sanders, the nefarious shit he was doing, and the fucking bullshit that Nancy Pelosi was doing that the squad was going along with. I was informed by Matt Stoller and Dylan Ratigan, and then I started screaming like my hair was on fire, because guess what? My hair was on fire. As Nina Turner says, people need to start screaming like their hair's on fire when their hair is on fire. So I started pointing out that Bernie Sanders was a bullshitting liar coward, and he fucking voted for the largest upward transfer of wealth while bullshitting us that he got us something in the unemployment. He didn't. People still think that today. Bernie Sanders gave a grandstanding speech. That $600 fucking unemployment was already in there, written by Michael Bennett. That was all bullshit. Bernie went along. He could have put a hold on that bill. He could have alerted everybody what was coming. Instead, he went along with it. It's called the shock doctrine. It's disaster capitalism. Everybody knows exactly what they were going to do, and they fucking did it, including Jimmy fucking Dore. And I called them out, and that's what people can't stand. And still the asswipes, half of fucking YouTube and progressives are fucking idiots who have no idea still what was in that CARES Act. They have no idea how fucking bad it was. They have no idea that their heroes, including Bernie Sanders, just stabbed them in the back without getting a fucking thing. And that was the only time they had leverage, because Mitch McConnell and the oligarchs wanted their $5 trillion. So if they would have slowed it down, they could have got something. They did nothing. They did nothing. They voted for the Patriot Act. They gave fucking Trump spying powers. Then they voted for the largest upward transfer of wealth in history, while people were patting them on the back for it. And now they won't even fucking withhold their vote for Nancy Pelosi to get Medicare for all vote. They won't fucking do it. And everybody sees it now. And now they want to make it about Jimmy Dore. Well, you can do that. By the way, it only helps me. It only helps when I'm trending. That only helps me. So thank you. But it helps Medicare for all. And everybody sees now what's going on, that their government is actually working against them. Other governments in the world isn't doing this. Only the United States. That's how corrupt they are. And it's about time for some social unrest.
Yeah, look, I mean, I agree with you on this one. And I think you've ignited a moment. And I'm very grateful for what you've done. I think it's great. And it's unfortunately exposed a lack of courage, I think, on some people who don't want to, for whatever reason, they don't want to, make it uncomfortable with some of their progressive heroes, which, I understand, somewhat. Like for me, it's Noam Chomsky. Like whenever I disagree with Noam Chomsky on something, it's hard for me. I have to do some kind of emotional processing to get through it. But either you're committed to your own politics or you're not. And in this case, what you're highlighting is this dire issue, this fundamental issue that that everyone supposedly supports. This is what we're all about on the progressive left. And hopefully we all can learn something from this moment. Jimmy,
Aaron, let me ask you, what you guys are smarty pantsies. What do you think? Why do you think that nobody was strategizing before I brought this up? Then all of a sudden, everybody's got a million ideas on what the fuck we ought to be doing right now. How come nobody had one idea before dickhead Jimmy Dore came up with it? Why is that? And, a guy from Politico literally yesterday tweeted out, hey, this just dawned on me. The progressives in the caucus have now power because their margin is so small. They can force Nancy Pelosi to do things. Literally, it's been trending for a week. A guy from Politico just tweeted out, hey, it just dawned on me. Are you fucking kidding me? And so that just shows you that they're not strategizing. And by the way, where's Bernie Sanders in this moment, Aaron? Where the fuck is he right now? His signature issue, we got a chance to do something. He is silent. He won't even... This is what a cuck Bernie Sanders is. And I use the word cuck from Kyle Kalinske. That was how he described Bernie Sanders. So it's not coming from me. I call him a coward and Kyle calls him a cuck. But when Bernie Sanders he was pushing for the Department of Labor. He wanted to be the Secretary of Labor, right? And he was pushing for it. But sources close to, I found out sources said that Bernie was willing to settle for a go fuck yourself as usual. So Bernie, when he interviewed about it, he won't even mention someone's name. They'll say, are you happy with the cabinet? And he said, I don't think it's progressive enough. But he won't mention someone's name that he thinks should be in the cabinet. And why is that important, Jimmy? Because if he mentions someone's name who should be in the cabinet, that would create a news cycle around that and pressure on the Biden administration to put that person in there. He won't even do that. He won't even mention someone's name who should be in the cabinet. That's what a cuck Bernie is right now. That guy is selling you out at fucking nuclear speed. He's not even proposing solutions, by the way. The $600 payment that he settled for, he was proposing $1,200. You know, that's not a solution. That's not even a half measure. A solution would be $2,000 UBI for the duration of this crisis. That's a solution.
The point you made about, that your campaign has exposed the lack of strategy, I think is really important because, it's true. As you said, all of a sudden AOC came along and said, we're negotiating for this. But again, the $15 minimum wage thing never made sense because Biden and Pelosi already support it. So that couldn't be a point of leverage, or that couldn't be a something that they needed leverage for. Right. When they're talking about negotiating committee seats, and they talk about the importance of getting people on committees to be able to advance Medicare for all, which I think is a legitimate goal. And you've never said that we just need to have a vote. You've said that we should have this vote plus other positions.
They should demand all those things. They have all the power right now. If they were the Freedom Caucus, they would demand things. But guess what? So the reason why AOC just lost her committee position was because she got replaced by somebody who's a blue dog Democrat who threatened Nancy Pelosi to not vote for her. So Nancy Pelosi said, "Fuck you, AOC," and put in, God damn it, I'm blanking on her name. Rice. What's her name?
Rice.
Kathleen Rice.
Yeah.
Put her in, who's a blue dog, and said, go pound sand AOC, knowing that AOC is going to fucking vote for her anyway. That's how bad they are. That's how feckless the progressives are. And that's what this moment is revealing. And that's what people hate me for.
When Glenn Greenwald was on your show, he talked about understanding what happens when you're well-intentioned, you're a politician, you get into Congress, you think, you have good intentions, then you realize the reality. And so you understand to get what you want, to do good, you have to make some compromises. But I think the compromises only go so far. So in the case of the AOC and the squad, I think they have to, this is just my opinion, I think they have to decide, do they want to be the people who get cover shoots with Nancy Pelosi on Rolling Stone or Vanity Fair, whatever it was? Or do they want to be the opponents of Nancy Pelosi, and who are the ones who was an impediment to Medicare for all? I think that's what it comes down to. Do you want to get photo ops with these people and friendly with them, or do you want to be fighters for what you came for? And I don't claim to know everything that goes on behind the scenes, and I'll be happy if they come out with some, genuine gain out of this process that they're engaged in. And I will say that I was wrong, and I'm sure you would too, Jim.
I would love to be wrong. I would love to watch them stand up and demand a floor vote, and we get it. And then and everything I said was wrong. You're right. You guys are fighting, but they're not going to do that. And they're not fighting. And what they're doing is scrambling, trying to find one bullshit gaslighting reason not to fight after another, not to fight. And whenever someone says this isn't the right time, all you have to do is say back to them is, when is the right time? If not in the middle of a deadly pandemic, when is the right time? 15 million people just lost their health care. When is the right time? When is that magical moment going to come? When is it? It's never going to come. Just as Martin Luther King Jr. said, he didn't tell Rosa Parks, hey, you got to wait to move up in the bus till we have the votes. They just fucking moved up in the bus. He said, we're not taking this shit anymore. And if they put a vote for Medicare for all on the floor, it would pass. And if it didn't pass, it would cause a real revolution.
Well, and I think there's a few thoughts I have in response to that I think are really revealing when we're talking about this kind of opportunism. And I think what's so funny is that often Democrats, especially the ones that claim to be progressives, they have this martyr complex where they want us to feel like, oh, I didn't want to do it. I just had to do it. I had no choice. But what's interesting about this moment right now is they're not even pretending that. They're not pretending like, oh, I have to vote for Nancy Pelosi. No, they're like, yeah, of course I'm going to vote for Nancy Pelosi. And what I keep thinking about is, okay, if people don't like it's become associated with you now, Jimmy, but I mean, other people have proposed it. If critics of this approach don't like the strategy of forcing the vote on Medicare for all, why don't they propose
a forced vote on another issue. I mean, this is an extremely important issue, but the reality is they're actually throwing out the whole idea. They're throwing out the baby with the bathwater, because the reality is they want to vote for Nancy Pelosi. The reality is they support Nancy Pelosi, and they don't even, at this point, they have the White House. They got their boy Joe Biden, the lifelong right-wing Democrat, pro-war, pro-mass incarceration. I mean, this is they got their, I mean, blue dog Democrat elected, and they don't need to have the farce of, oh, well, we can't not do it now because we don't want to help Trump, and we can't criticize the leadership because it's only going to help in the election. Now that they won the election, they don't even need to pretend anymore. It's pretty revealing to me.
There's a lot of people who are telling their followers, a lot of independent news people who are telling their followers, hey, you got to vote for Biden, and then we fucking attack him, and then we push him left. And here we are trying to push some Democrats left, and those same very people are saying that I'm a sexist, I'm a misogynist, I'm a bad guy, I'm a rage-filled. Those same people, those same people who were telling me, hey, listen to Cornel West. He says vote for Joe Biden. Are they going to listen to Cornel West now when he says hashtag force the vote? So you only listen to Cornel West when he says to vote for Joe Biden, but not when he says hashtag for. That's very interesting. So again, it's very selective when you listen to people. So again, they're all revealing themselves. I'm actually shocked by how many people are revealing themselves to be fucking shallow, to be against fighting. It's just remarkable to me that I'm shocked that AOC won't do this. I'm actually shocked. What the fuck? This is all she talked about doing the whole time. I got video on my Twitter feed. Go watch that video. It's called Cause a Ruckus. And she's not doing anything. She sounds like Mitt Romney trying to get out of doing something.
Can I tell you another shocking thing? And this to me is so depressing. So Max Blumenthal tweeted this out today, where Sarah Palin, okay, has come out with a stronger statement in support of Julian Assange than AOC. Like, imagine thinking about that back in, like 10 years ago was when I believe was when WikiLeaks dropped the Iraq war logs, right? So imagine back in 2010, learning that, hey, in 10 years from now, Sarah Palin, who just, like that lunatic who just ran with John McCain on the Republican ticket, in 10 years, she's going to make a stronger statement in support of freeing Julian Assange, who will be imprisoned for revealing state crimes, than one of the leading progressive politicians in the country. I mean, it's just so depressing, because what I'm referring to is AOC in that interview with Jeremy Scahill this week on Intercepted, the podcast. He asked her twice, do you support a pardon for people, including Julian Assange? And she didn't answer really directly. She said, for Snowden, I think, yeah, he should be considered. And then she said, for Assange, I have concerns and considerations, and then didn't really answer beyond saying that she opposes his prosecution under the Espionage Act, but she didn't say whether that prosecution should be dropped and whether he should be pardoned. And it's like, again, I don't want to make this just about her, because I think this speaks to a broader just problem with the left right now, that we're all part of a culture that has created a situation where a leading progressive politician on a supposed adversarial outlet doesn't feel any pressure to come out in support of Julian Assange, who has exposed more state crimes than really anybody else in the world, and is now being kept in a cage and possibly faces death.
Well, you can't.
For what he's done.
You can't push Russiagate and then defend Julian Assange. I mean, that's the problem. You can't push an evidence-free conspiracy theory that red baits all your political enemies and then say, oh, but Julian Assange is okay. And you can't do that. And people don't even realize that he's not being prosecuted for that stuff anyway. That he's being prosecuted for the war crimes he revealed through Chelsea Manning, not because of the 2016 election or the Russia or Trump or Hillary Clinton or any of Podesta, none of that. That's not what he's being prosecuted for. He's being prosecuted for literally revealing war crimes through Chelsea Manning. So, that's another thing. So again, I just don't know how journalists look themselves in the face, right? It's just crazy that here's your First Amendment. They all like to pretend that Trump was a real fascist. Oh yeah, Trump's such a fascist. He can't even. They're going to kick him out of Palm Beach. So they're not even going to let him live there anymore. That's what. Anyway, it's just ridiculous. So that's what happened. You can't support Julian Assange. Can I just tell you one more thing that's interesting to jump subjects, go back to the hashtag force the vote. What's super interesting to me is that the lack of mainstream news coverage. Like, I was appreciative that Jeremy Scahill actually brought it up to her on that podcast. I think she went on specifically to answer that question anyway. I think it was all set up that way. But I'm glad that he at least brought it up, and he mentioned my name. So you got to give him that. So he wasn't fucking around. And so, but isn't it amazing that there isn't an article about this in the Daily Beast or Salon or The Nation or USA Today or the New York Times? Or what? Why didn't Dave Weigel write a fucking article about this? He only does it when he's told to, and when he's told to go smear somebody on the left. That's why. Yep. That's why the Washington Post isn't fucking covering this, because they're bought and paid for by the people who don't want this. That's why Dave Weigel's not covering this. Dave Weigel will cover fucking any stupid fucking thing that can smear the left. But this thing, he's silent on it because he's a tool. He's another pro-war imperial tool, and he works for Jeff Bezos directly. And so that's what's wrong with it. Don't you find it interesting that not one fucking major news outlet will cover the Intercept did it on their podcast, so I got to give it to him, but I think that was a setup so AOC could go on there and fucking bullshit people. But anyway, they did it, so I'll give them credit, but that's it. No one else.
Well, what the Intercept did was interesting. First of all, they asked her basically one question about it. You know, Jeremy referred to you as an online personality or something like that, which I thought was kind of like disparaging or tacitly disparaging. No, I mean, like, we're all online personalities. I mean, like why make that? But anyway, but and then she gave her answer, and she wasn't really pressed. I mean, it was just she gave an answer, and that was it. He kind of moved on. So then was interesting. Then, you know, he was asked, and then she was asked if she thinks the Democratic Party needs new leadership. And she said yes. She says yes. But then she said, there's no one to replace Pelosi, though. You know, like, you know. So basically, and then so what happened was that became kind of this headline that AOC is like calling for leadership change in the Democratic Party, when really, she's been saying that for a long time. So she said nothing new.
That's an empty threat. You're saying it's an empty threat.
Well, also, and then B, she said also there's no replacement anyway. So the impact of her statement is null. She's saying there's no one to replace it. There's no one to replace the person who I think she replaced. But what that served, I think, and I'm not sure if this was the intention or not, but if you're on AOC's PR team and you're seeing all this criticism of her from the left, having that headline, like, which people took, and like that was the main takeaway from the interview, AOC calls for new leadership, that kind of, I think, deflected some of the criticism that AOC was getting from the left.
Yes.
And it looked as if she was challenging Pelosi when A, she wasn't, and B, she wasn't really, again, addressing the substance of this whole issue, which is the push you inspired for a floor vote on Medicare for all.
Yeah, it's I don't even know what else to say. How many times she can be revealed? How many times she can reveal herself? I was disappointed that Jeremy Scahill didn't ask a follow-up question either, as if he didn't know what they were. The follow-up questions are all obvious. They're all over Twitter. All you have to do is just go like this. Oh, there's a follow-up question. That's all you have to do. But it seems like the Intercept's whole business model is fucking riding the fumes off of the squad. And then as soon as they figure out that AOC isn't sufficiently, you know, cool enough, they'll start being critical of her, I bet. But that's not happening right now. So again, I can outdo all those fucking guys, and it's easy. It's not hard at all. I can do it high and drunk. I can do a better job than 99.9% of the journalists in America, because they're all bought and paid for. How they can sit there and let that happen to Glenn Greenwald is a joke.
Jimmy, how much time do you have? Because I know you have something else coming up. It's 5:30 now for you.
Okay.
Can I go in like 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I
just wanted to say, add two quick things. One, I'm first of all, we were so grateful to all of the people, the super chat people who are donating. It really, I mean, it means a lot to help keep all this independent journalism going, and all the commentators. I mean, we have so many, it's hard to respond, but there is a comment here, Jimmy. Stephen Kuhn wrote, "Ben, release the hounds and get Jimmy to read Lenin." And all I'll say is, Jimmy, you should read State and Revolution. It'll blow your mind. Talk about understanding how politics works.
Reading is hard. Is it on tape?
It's the audiobook version.
Is it on tape?
Yeah, but the comment I wanted to make is and actually we have another guest. We in a second I'm going to bring in Katie Halper, friend of the show.
Russian,
she also has
fucking Russian infiltrator.
A Russian infiltrator.
We have all the Russian assets here.
Yes. I know first what Katie does, and she does this with Matt Taibbi too. It's first they build up trust with their audience, and then there's the bait and switch. It starts with Lee Camp and then Putin.
Hey, Katie.
Hey, can you guys see me?
Yes.
Great.
And
Hi.
you're wearing your
I'm
Russian.
wearing Russian hat. Yes, correct. I'm having so many windows open for trying. Sorry?
Dobry den. I think it's morning over there, and
oh yeah, I'm pretending not to understand so people don't know that I'm working for Putin. Hi guys, nice to see you.
You do a great Russian accent.
It's
Nice.
good.
Well, one day I used to do Russian. Okay, hi all the haters out there. You might as well hear it from me. I did Russian Ukrainian folk dance for like 15 years, and there are all these pieces of photos of me in Vanuks and stuff. So I'll get those online soon enough.
Katie, that's cultural appropriation. You
I
have
know,
to spend some
but
time and time out for that.
well, I think if you're Jewish, you're allowed to do that to like Russians and Ukrainians because they owe us quite a bit.
Yeah.
You grew up doing Russian, Ukrainian folk dance? Man, how do I have friends with these fucking people?
Jimmy, she's a red diaper baby.
Yeah,
that's what all communists do.
I mean, it could have been any other dance thing. It just happened to be that these lefties in our neighborhood did that.
Oh, okay. I mean,
sure, that's what the lifelong Soviet assets say.
Yeah, sure. No, yeah. I mean, that sound anyway. But yeah, I'll find the photos.
Katie, I never danced, but I did. I used to wrestle, not very long, usually just until I came. But
same.
Yeah, if I could have controlled my orgasm, I could have went to state. Anyway, boy did my dad hate Saturdays. My opponents were like, "What's wrong with you?" I'm like, "Look what you're wearing."
The wrestling outfits will do it. Depends on your taste, I guess. But yeah.
I have to say, Katie, you probably did the Ukrainian dancing in the Soviet era, but then when the Nazis took over, they wouldn't let you do the Ukrainian dancing anymore.
Yeah, they put me in a big timeout.
Katie, tell me about your reaction. Oh, you have a question, Aaron?
No. Go ahead, Jimmy. No.
Katie, what's your reaction to being, I don't want to name names without evidence, but being called a Russian asset infiltrator by a Emmy Award-winning guy who just got caught trying to censor a movie that exposed his fucking grift?
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting that I think there are a lot of personal attacks that are happening against many of us. And the irony is that one of the biggest things that people use to attack you in particular is your personality and things you've said and that you're toxic and then you talk out of your ass. And I just want to be clear, like Jimmy and I, there are things that you and I disagree on, but I've never felt the need to attribute that disagreement to your being paid off or having some kind of, governmental support by some other government. And I just think it's really actually like as funny as it is, and it really does create great comedy, especially when you can make these videos where you watch the videos unfold and you hear people getting called, infiltrators and bait and switch and building trust. But I actually do think it's really scary that people get away with that stuff. Like there's no, I'm not for canceling people, but there should be some calling in. Like you should have to deal with something. If you say that people are taking Assad money or people are infiltrators, like that's not okay to just throw those terms around lightly. And if you want to come for someone, come on substance, or come up with an argument about the matter at hand. But this, it's just gross and it's smearing and it's toxic, ironically. And again, we don't all have to agree on things, but especially if you're trying to play the high horse. I just find it funny when people are trying to go after you, Jimmy. They're like that toxic smearer, that Assadist toxic smearer who's being paid by Putin. Why can't he just talk about issues? Why does he have to make it so personal? It's like, okay. All right.
Again, the people who they're upset that I'm yelling at are all politicians. That's who I yell at. I don't yell at waitresses and bus drivers on my show. I'm yelling at and holding account the most powerful people in the world during their biggest failure in the world, the CARES Act, and now this. So that's as Nina Turner said, I'm yelling like my hair's on fire because my hair's on fire.
Yeah, I know, it's
and
a great
the
line.
problem is other people aren't upset enough.
I'm just saying that even going on there, like I agree with you that yelling at powerful people is extremely different from like yelling at someone who isn't powerful. I just think that, and we should be talking about, right, the force to vote and other issues. But what I do think is ironic is that the very narrative of Jimmy is just doing this for attention and he's toxic, so I'm going to call him an Assadist and keep talking about him all the time. Please like this video. Is just, you know, the sincerity and the good faith is pretty obviously not there.
I mean, we spent, sorry.
My show was already very popular. I didn't have to do this to get more popular. I don't know what people, I'm already selling out theaters wherever I go. I didn't have to become more I'm doing this because this is a chance to get Medicare for all and to see and to expose to people how our system doesn't work for them.
Well, this is also funny because we always get accused of the same thing, and people are like, "You're taking that position on Syria, China, Nicaragua, Venezuela for popularity."
Yeah.
What? It's literally the exact opposite. Everyone hates us because of that. What are you talking about?
And who's paying? Again, I would love to see the receipts because I'm getting like totally not. I didn't know about this, and I'm owed a lot of money if that's the reason. That's the motive. But yeah, I just think it's just gross. It's totally like neo-McCarthyism. All you have to say, and Matt Taibbi has written a lot about this, all you have to say are some words that make people have an icky, visceral response to it. That person is just tainted and toxic, and you don't even have to go into what the issue is or what they've said or done in the past. It's just that they are Assadists. They are Putinists. They're repeating these talking points. They're repeating those talking points. So again, just bring it. If you want to debate things, that's fine. But especially if you're like a journalist who follows the money, yeah, show the receipts. Yeah.
But Katie, I mean, you can't repeat Putin talking points. You have to explain why you're doing that. I mean, if you're going to repeat Putin talking points, I mean, you have to explain yourself. I mean,
well, yeah, that's the other thing that's so frustrating, right? Is that like, if you make an argument that is being like a Putin talking point, according to like Susan Rice, is that George Floyd was murdered and that's bad. Like Susan Rice said that was a Russian talking point. Probably. She said it probably was. She told that to Wolf Blitzer. Kamala Harris said the same thing about Kaepernick, right? All these things. So by that standard, I mean, it's just such a ridiculous thing to say. There's no evidence, but also like, you know, there are people, I bring up the example of the TPP because that's always in my head. It may not be the greatest example. To me, it makes sense. But like Trump and Bernie were both against the TPP. And people would try to say like Bernie's Trumpian because he's against the TPP. And that's just not how things work. Like people support things for different reasons. And I can't believe we have to explain this, but we kind of do have to.
I share your verklempt over that there's a space in our culture for people to do that freely and not even worry that just whenever someone gets in a corner, they go, there's a Russian, there's an infiltrator, they take money, Assad. That's Hillary Clinton playbook 101. And the fact that comes from the left now that's accepted. It's just accepted you could do that. And no, there's no price to pay for that because everybody did that in the media.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta say, Katie, you know, the idea that if Putin says that the Earth revolves around the sun, I mean that's clearly false. Everyone knows, according to the liberal internationalists, the universe revolves around America. That's what it revolves around.
Right.
And our great democracy and.
Well, I feel like this. Oh yeah, Aaron, go. Yeah.
Did Jimmy use the Klimt list properly?
You know, it's interesting you say that. That's actually, verklempt is a very misused word. And I think it means...
I have to hold them accountable.
We got to call them in. We have to call them in.
That is lateral violence, Aaron. You're committing lateral violence, Aaron.
Downward violence.
These are people who are... they're allies, Aaron, okay? They're Goyish allies, and we can bring them into the conversation and not shame them. Verklempt, actually, I don't know the like literal origin of it, but the way it means emotional. But a lot of people think it means like overwhelmed, discombobulated. But I think it means moved. But you could say I'm moved by it. I'm all verklempt. But usually you're all verklempt. Like I'm verklempt by people verklempt by this conversation, or I'm verklempt by all the people coming together to say that smearing people is bad. But
I will say that I'm very appreciative that I have the Grayzone and people like Ben and Aaron and Max and everybody.
Happy birthday, Max! from yesterday. His birthday. I just found out.
I
Yeah.
missed his, oh, you're kidding. I missed his birthday. I didn't know that. How old is he? Is he 57?
Yeah, he's
No
max to
comment.
57, max to 57.
Younger, but no.
It's so, whenever, when I always think it's funny whenever someone is celebrating their birthday, I go, oh, you're so courageous. So courageous.
To celebrate it.
Yeah, so courageous. How old are you? And then I always
No vanity.
I often like to say, look into a camera and go, can you believe how young I look? Because at some time, in a few years, people will see this and they go, wow, he did look young. These are the games I play to keep myself entertained during my life.
It's good. I like them.
Okay.
And Jimmy, you should. I just want to say we're gonna do. You should come back to the show whenever, and we have to do a big one with you, Aaron, Ben. Sorry you weren't. You were left out of the infiltration list. But Lee Camp is coming on Sunday. He's coming on my show Sunday, and I feel like we've been silencing him. We haven't been elevating him because he, of course, according to Fox, it's like him and then Putin in the chain of command. So yeah.
Yes, definitely. And Lee Camp leading the way, Putin right behind him.
And then the rest of us.
Well, Jill Stein, because Jill Stein, she made a telepathic connection with Putin when she was at that RT gala, and now she has like the chip in her brain. So that's my fixer with the Kremlin. My connect is through Jill Stein.
Can I tell you the hardest thing about all this has been to not respond to the people's bad faith attacks against me. I have responded to several people, but I've gotten 1 million of them. And so I'll respond to like 2 or 3, and then people will text me, dude, don't do that. I'm like, do you realize the fucking restraint I'm actually exercising right now? It's unbelievable the restraint I'm exercising right. I got fucking Roland Martin pretending he doesn't know what hashtag force the vote is about. What the fuck? And he says some stupid shit. Like people like that coming out of the woodwork, fuck faces like that, who got caught fucking sneaking questions, still has a job in journalism, and he's gonna fucking try to take a shit on me because I have an idea. That's what's fucking wrong with this country.
That has been the weirdest part. Is it's become this like rite of passage for blue check liberals to pretend, either to attack you or to pretend they don't know who you are.
Yes.
I saw Jeet here of the Nation. He tweeted, "Okay, like I'll bite. Who is Jimmy Dore?" As if he's trying.
Wait, who's Jeet here, Aaron?
He's a writer for the Nation, and it's like if you
Ben just bit.
Right. Sorry, I missed that.
He's the cartoon guy, right?
Yeah.
He's got like
it's like either he's being facetious but if he actually doesn't know who Jimmy Dore is, what is he revealing about himself?
Right.
He's revealing that he's ignorant of a very popular leftist who has managed to attract a huge following, who is making a difference right now with something tangible, and who also has like a cross section of fans who doesn't just appeal to like a coastal liberal audience, which I think is really important, because if we want to win progressive politics, we have to convert people to our way of looking at things. And Jimmy's, if people try to like impugn Jimmy for having followers who aren't just like diehard, whatever you want to call them, like lefties. But I think that's wonderful. Like you want to reach people. That's why I at least I'm in this for, is to try to reach people, reach whoever I can. And so, it's just like this moment, Jimmy, that you've triggered has been a really revealing moment in many ways. And I think for, as much as like all the attacks on you only expose people for not really being behind the principles that they supposedly espouse. And it's like, if they want to do it, that's fine. But I think anybody with their eyes open will see, who is being genuine here and who isn't, who's being good faith and who isn't. It's fine to debate tactics. Yeah. It's fine even to criticize your tone. I think that's fine. But to engage in, cheap shots and to try to even cancel you for issues where you've been 100% vindicated, like Syria. It's so revealing and that really shows what it's all about. Is they don't want to legitimize someone who's had integrity on issues that extend beyond U.S. borders.